I'm Kayleigh Kriss, and I am here with Andy Codispoti, who is the Director of Winemaking and Distillery here at Gervasi Vineyard. We're in the still house. We're giving you that behind-the-scenes look, and I am looking at all this equipment. I'm having no clue what I'm looking at. So, Andy, why don't we start? What is this piece of equipment, first of all?
This one is called the mash tun. We just refer to it as our mash vessel. That is the tank where we load all of the grains when we're doing a bourbon or a whiskey mash. And the main purpose of that is we heat the grains to prescribed temperatures, and then with the addition of either both natural and very specific enzymes, we then induce the saccharification and convert the carbohydrates into fermentable sugars. That is the primary function of that vessel. And in fact, just on Sunday, we loaded our very first bourbon mash into that tank, and we're well underway at making our first bourbon.
That's very cool. And if I remember correctly, you guys use local grain too, don't you?
That is correct. The corn that we use for our bourbon is grown about 3 miles from here up the street toward the city of Hartville. And not only that, then it is also ground to our specification at a local mill in Hartville and brought here. Some of the other grains that we use in our bourbon formula are all Ohio, but they are now locally. We had to go a little bit further away to source those, but we try to stay as local as we can on these items.
So it's really going to make it a very unique local flavor.
Absolutely. Locavore is big. We all want to consume things locally, and we're very pleased and proud to be able to say that we were able to find quality farms in our area that we could source our corn from.
Okay, so now what's behind me here? Let me turn around over here. So what are these machines?
Kayleigh, these are the fermenters, because once the mashing is complete, then using a pump and hoses, we transfer that mash into the 3 fermenters. At this point, if you remember, we converted the starches to fermentable sugars in the mash vessel. Here now we inoculate with cultured yeasts specifically designed to be able to convert the mash that we have and all of those sugars into alcohol. So what we're doing is we're fermenting this mash and trying to achieve a level of alcohol just up around near 10%. We're not trying to get higher alcohols like we do for wines or other things. The process is different, the requirements are different. And we loaded these 3 vessels on Sunday, and they are now nearing completion of their fermentation. Once the fermentation is complete, then we will transfer that fermented mash into our pot still to begin the distillation process.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so why don't we work our way down the row here, and this big tank here, I mean, this is rather colorful. What is this?
This is our pot still, and its primary purpose, its sole purpose here, is to separate waters, oils, and other constituents from the alcohol. And when we load this fermentable mash into that pot, we then will begin to heat it, and the various alcohols then will begin to volatilize at various temperatures, and they will migrate up through the head and through the onion head. You can see how that's shaped just like an onion, and as the vapors migrate through there's some reflux that occurs on the inside where condensation occurs as the vapors contact the interior of the cooler onion head, and then little by little, as temperatures increase, it makes their way up through the very top, through the line arm, and makes its way over towards the condensers.
And that's what these towers are here?
Now, these towers are reflux columns. Our still is a hybrid. It has the pot still, which is very typical in the production of whiskeys and bourbons, but by incorporating the columns, it gives us the flexibility to also do vodkas, brandies, and rums. And so by having the combination of the two, we have greater flexibility in what we're able to produce here at Gervasi.
Okay, and speaking of some of the things that you're making, we'll keep moving down here a little bit further. You actually have some gin going, is that what I understand?
That is correct. We are currently in our second iteration and batch of our blood orange gin. This blood orange gin has a lot of the traditional characteristics that you would expect to find in a gin-based product, but we have a focus on Italian blood orange peel. And so we're looking for that characteristic to kind of shine above some of the other ones. So it's a gin-based product. It's going to have a beautiful orange color, and to me, when we looked at that color, it just reminds me of the morning sun rising up over the Mediterranean.
Wow. Now, this is you're working on it right now. When will this be available for people to try?
Along with the rest of our other products that we're producing here, we anticipate having it and the others on the shelf in April.
Okay, so they can buy those here at Gervasi?
That is correct. We'll be serving them in specialized cocktails that we are developing just for these. They also can be used in any cocktail, and also they'll be able to purchase these bottles for take-home here on this property.
I would say that would be a really, really cool gift for somebody.
Well, I agree with you. I'm already planning on buying, one of the very first bottles of every one of those that I will probably never open.
Oh, I'm already doing Christmas shopping in my head. This is all set. So I am really excited about this. So when people come, and starting in April, they'll be able to buy that off the shelf. They'll be able to actually get it in their drinks. And then they can also kind of get their own little tour back here, right?
Well, absolutely. We offer free public tours every Sunday at 12 and at 1 o'clock. And in addition to that, we have private tours that can be accommodated. And anytime that we're doing private tours, we have to work around our production schedule because since we are working with high-proof spirits, there are times when we really don't, it's not safe to have the public in this area. There's just too many things that are happening during that time. But yeah, and everybody just loves coming back and just enjoying the combination of science, technology, and craft.
Well, and you were saying this is going to be 10% proof, is that right?
Well, let me clarify that. When we ferment, we're trying to achieve somewhere near 10% alcohol. Once that mash, the fermented mash, goes through the distillation process, on the bourbon, it will output here at the condenser at about 160 proof.
Oh.
Because now we're separating the water, the grain, and everything from the alcohol, and so that 10% alcohol in volume shrinks, but in concentration then goes up.
So it's going to be some strong stuff.
Well, at that point, then there are various proofing steps that every product goes through, because with the bourbon, we can't ferment it, we can't distill it to any higher than 160 proof, but when it goes into our barrels for aging, it can't go into the barrel at any higher than 125 proof. So then we will proof it down with careful steps, and then we'll go into the barrel, and what we are producing right now, once distilled and into the barrel, will be in that barrel for about 4+ years. At that point, we will bring it out of its original charred barrel, and we will finish it in Gervasi wine barrels. That is the final touch that we will be adding to our bourbon that really, it sets it apart from everything else, because now we have kind of a partnership between our wine production and our distillation, and they marry together, in that final product.
That's cool. That is really, really cool. So you're working on the blood orange gin right now, and what is on the docket to be worked on next?
Well, once we're done with the blood orange gin, we have the proofing schedules that we are working on, because we have already run our vodka, and we are going to be taking that vodka that we have produced and splitting it, and from one batch it will be our traditional small batch vodka. The other one then is worked and blended with some of the wine that we produce here on site, and it will produce our vodka-based beverage that we call Sinner's Blush. And that Sinner's Blush will have a beautiful rosé color and the aromatics of our Frontenac Gris Le Chiteau wine that we produce here. So those are things that are going to be happening here just during the course of this next week.
Very, very exciting to see all this stuff. And you will soon be able to get this, as Andy was talking about, in the winery, in the still house. And it's just really cool because this is something you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. So Just don't forget that you can get free tours of the still house at noon and 1 on Sunday. And then if you would like a private tour, if you've got maybe some friends you want to do a whole tour together, give them a call and you can set that up. But it's really cool back here. Thank you for letting us in on a little bit of a snippet of how this all works, and we're looking forward to everything.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
If you want more information, go to gervasivineyard.com.